Well, namaskar everyone. So we are now on the 8th talk, which is supposedly the last one in this series. Well, today is the last one, the last advice of Yogeshwara Krishna. I've taken you through the mystery of soul, of birth, of death, of rebirth, and of karma. I have taken means it is Sri Krishna himself who has given all this knowledge to Arjuna. And then in chapter 18, he focuses on the great supreme secret. So the real Bhagavad Gita, its dialogue begins with Arjuna declaring, I will not fight. Na yotse. And culminates in Arjuna submitting, I will act according to thy word. Karishye vachanam tava. It's a very beautiful thing. From an absolute rejection by the ego to an absolute surrender of the ego. That's the long journey of the soul of Arjuna. An absolute surrender of the individual will to the universal will. That is what we in Integralyoga we say, let thy will be done. So this is the whole picture. The beginning and the end is absolute negation to absolute surrender. And what goes through, the way Sri Krishna takes him, is a marvelous journey. He takes Arjuna through the rational, the psychological, and the spiritual paths, explanations. And I suppose that is perhaps the path that is open for the modern man too, when he or she wants to take an inner journey. On the rational level, he explained the duties of the Kshatriya. In chapter 2, verse number 3, fall not from the virility of the fighter and the hero, O Partha. It is not fitting in thee. Shake off this paltry faint-heartedness. Stand up, Parantapa. Verse number 33, chapter 2. But if thou dost not this battle for the right, then hast thou abandoned thy duty of virtue and thy glory, and sin shall be thy portion. Verse number 34, same chapter. Besides, men will recount thy perpetual disgrace, and to one in noble station, dishonor is worse than death. 37. Slain thou shalt win heaven. Victorious thou shalt enjoy the earth. Therefore arise, O son of Kunti, resolved upon battle. So you can see all these are on the Kshatriya level, on the rational level, how he's explaining that as an Arya, as a Kshatriya, you should be doing your duty, etc. He's trying to awaken him to the sense of the duty of a Kshatriya. Then on the psychological level, which we discussed at length, Sri Krishna explained the source of the stain and darkness of the soul in the hour of difficulty and peril. What is the explanation? In him whose mind dwells on the objects of sense with absorbing interest, attachment to them is formed, from attachment arises desire, from desire anger comes forth. Therefore, O mighty armed, one who has utterly restrained the excitement of the senses by their objects, his intelligence sits firmly founded in calm self-knowledge. Who abandons all desires and lives and acts free from longing, who has no I or mine, he attains to the great peace. There are several of them, but I have selected a few. But on the spiritual level, Sri Krishna reveals the secret of the individual soul, Jivatman as he calls it, and as we clarified, the psychic being. Chapter 2, verse number 18, finite bodies have an end, but that which possesses and uses the body is infinite, illimitable, eternal, indestructible. Therefore fight, O Bharat. Chapter 2, verse number 20, about the same individual soul. This is not born, nor does it die, nor is it a thing that comes into being once and passing away will never come into being again. It is unborn, ancient, sempiternal. It is not slain with the slaying of the body. So this was on the individual level. What is the nature of the individual soul, the Jivatma, which we have seen when we discuss about the soul. What is important is that Sri Krishna not only gives him about the individual soul, but he reveals to him the divine form of the cosmic personality, which all of us know in chapter 11, the Vishwarup Darshana. Here is a beautiful passage, chapter 11, verses 9 to 14. Hari showed to Partha his supreme form. It is that of the infinite Godhead, whose faces are everywhere, and in whom are all the wonders of existence, who multiplies unendingly all the many marvelous revelations of his being. A worldwide divinity, seeing with innumerable eyes, speaking from innumerable mouths, armed for battle with numberless divine uplifted weapons, glorious with divine ornaments of beauty, robed in heavenly raiment of deity, lovely with garlands of divine flowers, fragrant with divine perfumes. Such is the light of this body of God, as if 1,000 suns had risen at once in heaven. The whole world, multitudinously divided and yet unified, is visible in the body of the God of gods. Well, I've taken you through some of the verses to give you an example of the rational, psychological, and the spiritual levels. And after preparing Arjuna's mind and heart, now Yogeshwara Krishna opens up his inner being, which is now ready for the last advice. That's what we are going to discuss today. But then there is something very important to know before we come to see what is the last advice. This secret of secrets the teacher will tell Arjuna as his highest good, because he is the chosen and beloved soul, Isha. You see, he calls him many a time my dear friend, Priyosi me, my favorite one, my loved one. So this is very important, because for evidently, as had already been declared by the Upanishads, it is only the rare soul chosen by the Spirit for the revelation of his body, Tanam Swam, who can be admitted to this mystery, because he alone is near enough in heart and mind and life to the Godhead to respond truly to it in all his being and to make it a living practice. This is a very important thing. In fact, some of the questions were asked to me, why was Arjuna selected for this Gita? There were so many other people, like you had Yudhishthir, you had other noble persons, you had Bhishma. But why Arjuna? Well, very simple. As is declared by the Upanishad, it is only the rare soul chosen by the Spirit for the revelation of his very body. So the truth supreme, the spiritual secrets, are not revealed to everyone and anyone. This is a kind of a chosen spirit. But then you may say, then what is the fun of all of us listening to the Gita if we are not also chosen? We are not chosen. But this reading of the Gita, as we will see toward the end, helps us purify ourselves, helps us to prepare ourselves to see the vision of the divine. You see, obviously, somewhere Sri Aurobindo writes that when Gita was spoken to him, there is this awakening of the psychic being. You see, Arjuna, maybe he was there in all his pride, he comes there, but the work that Sri Krishna does on him is to awaken the divine within. This is an important rapport. You see, we also read so much of Bhagavad Gita, this and Savitri and Life Divine and all the scriptures and all that. But is it just for the sake of reading? For the sake of saying, oh, I have read this scripture, I have read this book 3 times, 5 times. It's not important to read for the sake of it. It must get within. It must go within and then awaken. So all the words of Lord Krishna are meant to awaken the soul. It's not just a psychological teaching and preaching or a religious preaching. It's not metaphysics given in simple words and simple verses as seed form to Arjuna. Because when the Lord speaks, there's also the power behind his words, the power of awakening. So when we read, whatever scripture you want to read, whoever is the great author, whoever is the great master, see that it instills, it goes within. That, I suppose, is the meaning of why Mother said, you can read Savitri even if you don't understand. Because these are not the things that mind will understand. You have seen Arjuna asking him hundreds of questions. There's hardly any stopping, any coming to an end of the questions. Why? Because the mind is not yet purified, or the mind is not quietened. It can happen either way. When you get the real experience, the mind becomes calm. I've told hundreds of times in my classes about the famous example of Sri Ramakrishna when he tells us that a bumblebee goes over the flowers and trying to take some honey from the flowers. But while it is floating over the flowers, it makes a tremendous buzzing sound. But the moment it sits on the flower and sucks a little bit of the honey, the sound is gone. This is exactly what Sri Ramakrishna means, that if you can go within and get that little honey, the rasa as we say, then we don't even have so many doubts. In fact, that is one of the reasons why Lord Krishna gives him the Vishwarup Darshan. Before him there are so many questions, but you will say after chapter 11 also there are darshans and there are questions. But those questions and the questions before, they have a category difference. It's not doubts, it's not debates, it's more a clarification. Arjuna is slowly moving towards that inner conviction. So these are the things that need to be explained and understood. Why Arjuna was chosen? Because he was open to receive. He as a Kshatriya was a great proud man because he knew his valor, he knew his strength, he knew his prowess. But the within also is something beautiful. And that is seen just because of the relationship he has with Lord Krishna. He calls him a friend. And that is the intimacy of friendship. He becomes a disciple later during this Bhagavad Gita. Or then he says, I am a disciple. Give me an instruction as a disciple. But before that, he was a great friend, an intimate friend. He used to joke and laugh and share everything. That is a symbol that Sri Aurobindo picks up and says, we need to have this relationship of the intimacy with the divine. You may not call him as a friend, but you can call him because Mother says the divine is the best friend you can have, who will never ditch you, who will always show you the right path. So this friendship with the divine is what is unique about Arjuna, and that is why, as Upanishads say, he is the rare soul chosen by the Spirit for the revelation of his body. That is the explanation why the teacher selects Arjuna for this greatest of secrets. So the secret, the closing supreme word of the Gita expressing the highest mystery is spoken in two brief, direct and simple shlokas, and these are left without further comment or enlargement to sink into the mind and reveal their fullness of meaning in the soul's experience. So obviously you know which one we are referring to. They are the chapter 18, verse number 66. This is that Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam. That's the same one. Abandon all dharmas and take refuge in me alone. I will deliver thee from all sin and evil. Do not grieve. You see, this is a very, very focused thing. He's telling him, do not grieve, because all the time Arjuna was grieving for those for whose death he should not grieve. So he is telling that abandon all dharmas. I will take care of you. I promise you. Then the next verse, become my-minded. This is not when by number it comes 65 before this actually. Become my-minded, my lover and adorer, a sacrificer to me. Bow thyself to me thou shalt come. This is my pledge and promise to thee, for dear art thou to me. Priyosi me again. You see, it's unique. One should really make a study of this. How many times Sri Krishna calls him Priyosi me, you are dear to me, you are my friend, you are this. That is only to reiterate that I am giving you all this because of your dearness to me. And therefore, now what is the deeper meaning? Sri Aurobindo explains, the Gita throughout has been insisting on a great and well-built discipline of yoga. Well, we have seen all the 650 verses. A large and clearly traced philosophical system on the Swabhava and Swadharma. On many rules and means and injunctions and conditions of perfection. You see, we don't have to go back, but what is action, what is karma yoga and jnana yoga and all the yoga system in detail it describes. But then suddenly, towards the end, we see Lord Krishna telling, suddenly it seems to break out its own structure and says to the human soul, abandon all dharmas. This kind of a thing that really shocks you. Somebody who has been leading you to step after step, rational, psychological, spiritual, the inner soul, there's a kind of a growth and evolution. And then the same teacher who now turns around and says, abandon all dharmas. Give thyself to the divine alone, to the Supreme Godhead above and around and within thee. Above, around and within. That means give yourself to the divine within you, the Atman, and the cosmic divine who is around and above. So we have to give ourselves to both, the individual divine and the cosmic divine and his manifestation. That is all thou needest. That is the truest and greatest way. That is the real deliverance. The master of the world in the form of the divine charioteer and teacher of Kurukshetra has revealed to man the magnificent realities of God and self and spirit, and the nature of the complex world and the relation of man's mind and life and heart and senses to the spirit, and the victorious means by which through his own spiritual discipline and effort he can rise out of mortality into immortality. I mean, this is just of what we have seen from Sri Krishna. But again, Sri Aurobindo is telling the same thing. After giving him all the details, how to connect spiritually to the Jivatman, how to connect with this divine, he even gives a Vishwarup darshan and all that. But then he says, all this personal effort and self-discipline will not in the end be needed. I mean, imagine a guru, a teacher, who speaks to you for years together and then suddenly says, give up all that I've spoken is irrelevant. Why? Because all following and limitation of rule and dharma can at last be thrown away as hampering encumbrances if thou canst make a complete surrender to me. Now, why has the Lord said abandon all the dharmas, abandon all this sarva dharman parityaja? You see, the problem is that we begin to follow these rules rigidly. We don't get into the spirit of it, we don't get into the experience of it. We just keep saying, oh, this is what scripture has said, this is what Mother has said, this is what Sri Aurobindo has said, this is what Lord Krishna has said. We keep on quoting, he has said, she has said, she has said, they have said. So we do not go within. We are only quoting, cut and paste, quoting. So at a point, as it says, even these rules and regulations and clarifications become hampering encumbrances. So you do not really surrender and go to the divine. You are so much bogged down with practicing the rules and regulations and ceremonies and this, that we have forgotten to really do the needful thing, that is to surrender. So he says, it will stop you from surrendering to me. It will hinder you. Depend alone on the Spirit and Godhead within thee and all things, and trust to his soul guidance. Turn all thy mind to me and fill it with the thought of me and my presence. I mean, it's a wonderful, it's extraordinary teaching, that how Lord Krishna, he gives you the mantra. He says, become my-minded, my lover, my adorer, and a sacrificer to me. In one single word, sentence, he has synthesized the Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Become my-minded. Think of him at all times. What is Jnana Yoga? Is nothing but thinking of the Lord at all times. And then, my lover and adorer. That's the gist of Bhakti Yoga. It's not the question of doing pujas and doing this ceremonies and that pujas and this ratri and that ratri. It's not that. It's not the external. We have to become the adorer and lover. Bhakti leads you to become a lover of the divine. Not keeping a distance, oh, you are the adored and I am the bhakta and you are the great divinity and I am the devotee. In fact, in the synthesis, Sri Aurobindo does say, this is the problem of Bhakti Yoga. That you still keep a distance with the divine, that you are up there and I am down here. You are the great divinity and I am the ignorant devotee. So that should not be Bhakti Yoga, should not be stopping at that saying that we are two. But when you cross beyond this question of the Bhakti Yoga, Aurobindo, that's why he calls it in the synthesis, the yoga of divine love. So there is a difference between this devotion and love and becoming the adorer. So bhakta and lover are two different things. Love is much more intense. Because love is one thing where there is identification. You forget yourself. And even the difference you forget yourself. That is why you see the Mirabai bhajans, where at a point they become one. So it's difficult. You read the mother's prayers and meditations. I don't know how many of you have read that. Because we're all having madness because of big books, Savitri and Life Divine and Synthesis. This is a kind of a mental phobia we have, and I must say that. But have you ever read the prayers and meditations? It's a small book. Oh, it's mother's prayers, so what does it matter? But I tell you, prayers and meditations is nothing but the gist, a complete essential essence of Savitri. Difficult to understand. But experientially is nothing but Savitri. Before Savitri was even written by Aurobindo, here was the mother who had gotten this in the quintessence as we see. So where there is this complete identity where mother says, I don't know, I am writing or you are writing, I am praying to you or you are praying to me. The complete identity between the divine and herself. And at a point she even connects with the supermind. So the supramental consciousness which was supposed to have descended later is already experienced by the mother and already indicated in the prayers and meditations. So what I wanted to tell you is that this love, that's why I admire the word my lover and adorer. It is a question of identification. And then the last one, a sacrificer to me. Who is a sacrificer? Is one who is doing the karma yoga. Everything he gives to the Lord and says, I am not the doer. It's not me, Lord. You are the doer. So why should I take the blame or the claim? Nothing. Neither the blame nor the claim, nothing. It's all you. So that is why I admire this last verse, that manmana bhava mat bhakta madhyaji mam namaskuru. Just he says, bow thyself to me thou shalt come. So you see, this is the essence of spirituality. And then all the other things of religiosity. Religion depends on the external paraphernalia, external supports. But spirituality, there are no props, as we say. We don't need or we should not have any props. So that way it makes you work and go within. So that is the thing that Sri Aurobindo is telling us, or Lord Krishna is telling. Turn all thy heart to me, make thy every action, whatever it be, a sacrifice and offering to me. Well, that is the message that we get here. And then when we see the message, the essence of this message, as I've told you, we can see the essence is of surrender. So he is telling us very clearly that you surrender to me, I will take you up, I will be in charge for you, and then therefore that I will deliver you from all sin. So what is this question of surrender? Well, I'm sure those of you who have read Mata and Sri Aurobindo and even the Lord Krishna, you have read a little bit about surrender. I'll not go much into it, but I'll bring out some of the important concepts and notions. And that surrender is basically a decision taken to hand over to the responsibility of our life to the divine. It's nothing big, but nothing small. A decision taken to hand over the responsibility of our life to the divine. Without this decision, nothing is at all possible, emphasizes the mother. If you do not surrender, the yoga is entirely out of the question. Everything else comes naturally after it, for the whole process starts with surrender. So that is the magic. You see, you can gain outer beauty, outer wealth, outer comfort, everything. And especially in yoga, you may gain higher consciousness, etc., only by the beginning of the beginning of the beginning is surrender. You can surrender either through knowledge or through devotion. These are both ways. You may have a strong intuition that the divine alone is the truth, and a luminous conviction that without the divine you cannot manage. Or you may have a spontaneous feeling that this line is the only way of being happy, a strong psychic desire to belong exclusively to the divine. And the mantra of surrender, I do not belong to myself. And give up the responsibility of your being to the truth. You see, we get to know so many japa mantras, we have been initiated by these mantras. But isn't it such a simple thing? If you constantly keep saying subconsciously, mentally, consciously and emotionally that I do not belong to myself. You know, Anandamayi Ma, whenever she talked about her body, she never said I. She said this body. You could see the complete discrimination. She never identified herself with the body. She said this body wants to sit, this body wants to go and sleep, this body wants to eat. Because she belonged to somebody else. She had this inner contact continuously and consciously. So she says, that is the stance of surrender. First decide. I mean, it will take you a long time. But at least at a point of time, if there is some inner decision, no, it's enough is enough. I belong to humanity, to family, to my relations, to my children, to my this thing, to my that thing. Let me belong to that person. As Sri Krishna is telling us so much, that I will deliver thee from all sin and evil. So do we not take his word seriously? And then she says, mother would say, when the resolution has been taken, when the resolution means I want to. You say basically the whole yoga starts with the question of wanting, not wishing. I wish I were a sadhak, no. I want to. And maybe it's a wanting, maybe from the mental thing first. Maybe it's emotional. Maybe it's integral. Maybe it's psychic. But what you say, the chahat, the wanting, the zeal for the Lord has eaten up my being. Can we say that? Well, in the beginning it's very difficult. We cannot claim, none of us claim for that. But that is what they have given as a secret. So the mother says, when the resolution has been taken, when you have decided that the whole of your life shall be given to the divine, you have still at every moment to remember it and carry it out in all the details of your existence. You see, it is not a drawing room spirituality when you go to the temple and say, oh Lord, I want to belong to you, I've given myself to you, and the moment you come out, there's an ice cream bar and you go there and forget all your decisions. So it says, you must feel at every step that you belong to the divine, you must have the constant experience. In whatever you think or do, it is always the divine. It doesn't mean you cannot go to the ice cream bar and eat, I'm sorry. You can. But there also, if you can say, Lord, this enjoyment of the ice cream is thine. So when we are trying to integrate everything, as the mother says, whatever you think or do. So there is no bar, don't do this and don't do that. There is a kind of a self-offering in all that. And then the last thing, that the divine consciousness that is acting through you. You have no longer anything that you can call your own. You feel everything as coming from the divine, and you have to offer it back to its source. I mean, this is a very fine psychological attitude. That Lord, you are giving me this ability to talk. You have given me the ability to talk. And talk I am doing. But take it back. After this 1 hour, take all the energies and the thoughts and the ideas and the emotions that I have generated. It's back to you. I have been only your mouthpiece. As I jokingly say, you are the speaker and I'm the loudspeaker. That's the attitude. So nothing belongs to us. Even the action of doing business or doing that, everything. So in that way, we want to imagine and believe that it is He who is giving me the capacity to write, to paint, to do business, to talk, to run, anything. But immediately after the act is over, return it as pure as possible, as much as possible, as developed as possible, as much as you can express it, give it back to Him. And then one last mantra for the surrender. If you say to the divine with conviction, I want only you, the divine will arrange all the circumstances in such a way as to compel you to be sincere. A marvelous thing. But can we say, I want only you? You see, the beauty is, the divine will arrange all the circumstances in such a way as to compel you to be sincere. Something in the being, I want only you, the aspiration. And then one wants 100 odd things all the time, isn't that so? At times some things come just usually to disturb everything. That's what I was explaining. We may take a decision that I want to belong, but again there are so many people or incidents or events that come and disturb you and make you forget. Well, the divine will come without showing Himself, without your seeing Him, without your having any inkling of it, and He will arrange all the circumstances in a way that everything that prevents you from belonging solely to the divine will be removed from your path inevitably. That is the assurance where He says, I will take you, I will deliver you from all the sin. This is what is the meaning. So if you keep constantly this mantra, I want only you, there are 100 things that disturb you, and yet even if you can come in between and say, oh Lord, I'm sorry, I forgot about it, I want only you. But this becomes, if it becomes a japa, then the circumstances themselves will be arranged by Him so that everything that prevents you from belonging solely to the divine will be removed from your path inevitably. It's not just en passant, it's not just saying for the sake of it. That's what the Lord also said that my pledge and promise to thee for dear are thou. My pledge and promise, that's the word of inevitable. So we may think that Mother is just telling that. No, it's the same word that Lord Krishna said it. Well, that is about the question of surrender. The volumes have been written about that. People may speak volumes about that. But I wanted to give you the mool mantras. Then we go to the next part. A very interesting one. You see, towards the end, verse number 73, chapter 18. Well, in one place, in chapter 18, verse number 72, you see, after so many questions that Arjuna asks, Sri Krishna at the end asks, verse number 72, there are hardly 6 more verses, and this is 72 or 78. Only one question. Arjuna, Krishna asked him only one question. Had this been heard by thee, O son of Pritha, with a concentrated mind, has that delusion caused by ignorance been destroyed, O Dhananjaya? A marvelous teacher. After explaining all that, he is telling now, has your delusion been destroyed? And have you heard me with concentrated mind? And to this, Arjuna answered, destroyed is my delusion. I have regained memory through thy grace, O infallible one. I am firm. Dispelled are my doubts. I will act according to thy word. Karishye vachanam tava. Beautiful mantric words. Can we ever say that? Karishye vachanam tava. That I will act according to thy word. That's what I said right in the beginning. It starts with I will not fight. It ends with saying, O Lord, I will do exactly what thou wantest me to do. This conversation reminds of another similar question and answer. The one between Sri Krishna and Sri Aurobindo. Like Arjuna, Sri Aurobindo too seems to have had a weakness by his attachment to his work for the country. There is tremendous parallels between them. Arjuna was so attached to his work and he thought he was a great hero. Without him, Kurukshetra cannot be fought and won. And then Sri Krishna knew that this egoism is there, this weakness is there, this attachment to the people, to the family is there. And so was it with Sri Aurobindo. I am not saying that. I will read out Sri Aurobindo himself. When I was arrested and hurried to the Lal Bazar Hajat, I was shaken in faith for a while. For I could not look into the heart of his intention. Therefore I faltered for a moment and cried out in my heart to him, what is this that has happened to me? I believed that I had a mission to work for the people of my country, and until that work was done, I should have their protection. Why then am I here and on such a charge? Same questions. Why should I fight my relatives? Why should I kill my elders? Why? And Sri Aurobindo says, why am I here? I want to work for my country. So attachment, same attachment, the same weakness. And then a day passed, and a second day, and a third, when a voice came to me from within, wait and see. I remembered then that a month or more before my arrest, a call had come to me to put aside all activity, to go into seclusion, and to look after and to look into myself, so that I might enter into closer communion with him. So Sri Aurobindo did get an indication. You withdraw from your super active, hyperactive, as we say, involvement in the country. Because he says, he gave me a hint. But Sri Aurobindo writes, I was weak and could not accept the call. My work was very dear to me, and in the pride of my heart, I thought that unless I was there, it would suffer or even fail and cease. Therefore, I would not leave it. The same scenario with Arjuna and Sri Krishna. Same scenario. And then Sri Krishna also knew this is the weakness that Arjuna had. So because of that, very purposely he drives him to the middle of the army of the Kurukshetra. And then he says, behold Arjuna, the Kurus on both sides. This was a strategic move. It was not just perchance that Arjuna was taken there. Because Sri Krishna wanted Arjuna to come face to face on the senses level, sensorial level, and then bring out that weakness of this attachment on the sensorial level, on the thought level, on the desire level of the attachment. Similarly, Sri Aurobindo too thought, and then he says, there was the work was very dear to me, and in the pride of my heart I thought that unless I was there, it would suffer or even fail and cease, exactly like Arjuna said. That's why Sri Krishna had to tell him, look, you are only a nimitta matra. If you don't work for me, I can select anybody from this army and I can do the work that I want to do. You are not the person. If you are not submitting yourself and surrendering yourself to do my work. So this is the same thing, Sri Aurobindo. So Lord Krishna comes to him and says, he spoke to me again and said, the bonds you had not the strength to break, I have broken for you. Because it is not my will, nor was it ever my intention that you should continue. I have another thing for you to do, and it is for that I have brought you here, to teach you what you could not learn for yourself and to train you for my work. It is Sri Aurobindo himself telling that. Sri Krishna tells, I have brought you for my work. Because you could not break the bonds, I have brought you into this seclusion. And the same paristhiti, the same situation. He was also isolated in the middle of the war field. Who? Arjuna. And here Sri Krishna, Sri Aurobindo is isolated in the Alipur jail, bringing him away from this hyperactive work for the country and thinking that if without him the country's liberation movement would be off. Then he placed the Gita in my hands. Wonderful. Exactly when Arjuna was saying, I will not fight, he placed the Gita in his hands. That means the Gita, the dialogue that took you to chapter 18, ending with that you surrender to me. So this is the same thing that happened with Sri Aurobindo, that the Lord placed the Gita in my hands. His strength entered into me and I was able to do the sadhana of the Gita. I was not only to understand intellectually, but to realize what Sri Krishna demanded of Arjuna. Please note this. Sri Aurobindo himself writing or telling in the Uttarpara speech. For the first time, he spoke of his inner experiences. So he says, I was not to understand intellectually, it's not the question of trying to understand the deeper meaning of understanding of the Gita. No. Intellectually one can have lots of commentaries. But Sri Aurobindo says, I was not only to understand intellectually, but to realize what Sri Krishna demanded of Arjuna and what he demands of those who aspire to do his work. What is it? To be free from repulsion and desire. So this stay in Alipur jail turned Sri Aurobindo into a Gita yogin. One who realized the essence of the Gita in those few months. To be free from repulsion and desire. To do work for him without the demand for fruit. Everything is absolutely the teaching that was given to Arjuna. No desire, no demand for fruit. To renounce self-will and become a passive and faithful instrument in his hands. No self-will, but to accept the divine will. That's why, later on, when he was working in the Karma Yogin office and the divine call comes and says, go to Chandranagar, he didn't ask a question. He just puts down his pen, he walks out and goes to Chandanagar. So that is what he learned, to accept the divine will without questioning. To have an equal heart for high and low, friend and opponent, success and failure, yet not to do his work negligently. This is a very important word. Thinking that everything will be done by Lord Krishna, you begin to be negligent, tamasic, and you become, inefficient. But he says, no. Thinking that the Lord is doing everything, still I have to put in my personal efforts, offer to him, and be as effective as possible. And then, after this purification of the mind, as was in the case of Arjuna, Sri Aurobindo too had the cosmic darshan. Sequences are wonderful, almost very much one-to-one matching. So Sri Aurobindo also had this Vishwarup Darshana. And of this Vishwarup Darshan, there's a wonderful comment by the mother, quite unbelievable, difficult to understand. A sadhaka asked the mother, what about Sri Aurobindo's experience at Alipur then? You know that well-known experience when he saw Narayana in the prisoners, Narayana in the guards, Narayana everywhere? The question. Mother says, that is the supreme oneness. Is it a supramental experience? Ask the questionnaire. Mother says, it is supramental. The disciple was shocked. He said, supramental? Yes, the supramental experience. He called it Narayana because he was Indian. The question, it is supramental, not overmental? Mother, no. It's like the message of the Gita, as Sri Aurobindo explained it, not overmental but supramental. It is oneness, the experience of oneness. So here we see, it was revealed actually in the agenda, that Sri Aurobindo, when he had in Alipur jail, was already a supramental experience of the Supreme Divine. Whereas the Vishwarup Darshan that we had in the case of Arjuna was one aspect, what we call the time the destroyer. Time the destroyer is one of the aspects of the divine. So Lord Krishna shows him the aspect of the time the destroyer. And then he comes back to the Vishnu Rupa, the beautiful, wonderful Rupa. But whereas Sri Aurobindo, it was a oneness. It's the same Narayana, it's the same Vasudeva, everywhere, in the low and in the high, in the bars, in the animate, in the inanimate. So Mother reveals that was a supramental experience because it was the experience of the one divine, that I am in everything. So it's not any aspect of the divine, it is the fullness of the divine. So that was a wonderful revelation I got. And now, what is the revelation that we are referring to? I looked at the jail that secluded me from men, and it was no longer by its high walls that I was imprisoned. No, it was Vasudeva who surrounded me. I walked under the branches of the tree in front of my cell, but it was not the tree, I knew it as Vasudeva. It was Sri Krishna, whom I saw standing there and holding over me his shade. I looked at the bars of my cell, the very grating that did duty for a door, and again I saw Vasudeva. It was Narayana who was guarding and standing sentry over me. Or I lay on the coarse blankets that were given me for a couch and felt the arms of Sri Krishna around me, the arms of my friend and lover. You see, I couldn't help bringing this parallel to you. There's so much of similarity between Arjuna, Krishna and Sri Krishna and Sri Aurobindo. And these are all verifiable truths of spirituality. It's not somebody relating on behalf of Sri Aurobindo or writing a poem, no. Sri Aurobindo himself is telling all this in this Uttarpara speech. Then in the seclusion of the jail, of the solitary cell, I asked for it again. I said, Sri Aurobindo says, give me thy Adesh. I do not know what work to do or how to do it. Give me a message. This is exactly what Arjuna had asked Sri Krishna after he put down his Gandiva. What does Arjuna say? It is the poorness of my spirit that has smitten away from me my true heroic nature. My whole consciousness is bewildered in its view of right and wrong. I ask thee which may be better. That tell me decisively. I take refuge as a disciple with thee. Enlighten me. Same experience. Arjuna says, please enlighten me. I have no idea what I should do. And then, of course, we have seen this Arjuna takes refuge as a disciple with Sri Krishna, and he says, give me. He practically asks that which I have lost, a true law, a clear rule of action, a path by which I can again confidently walk. He does not ask for the secret of life or the world, the meaning and purpose of it all, but for a dharma. You see, again, very similar. Sri Aurobindo also says, I do not know what work to do. Both Arjuna and Sri Aurobindo are asking on the level of work, not saying what is the philosophy, what is the ancient philosophy, what is Sanatana Dharma, nothing of the sort. It's an extremely similar situation. Both of them said, tell me how to work, how to go about my work. And Lord says, Sri Krishna says to Sri Aurobindo, I have given you a work and it is to help to uplift this nation. Before long, the time will come when you will have to go out of jail. For it is not my will that this time either you should be convicted or that you should pass the time as others have to do in suffering for their country. I have called you to work, and that is the Adesh for which you have asked. I give you the Adesh to go forth and do my work. So here Sri Aurobindo comes out of the jail, and then he hears the voice to come to Chandanagar and then to come to Pondicherry. So basically, it was Lord Krishna's Adesh. So the dialogue between Arjuna and Sri Krishna, this conversation between Sri Aurobindo and Sri Krishna, again takes us further to another between Savitri and the Divine Mother, Divine Consciousness. Savitri says, I am thy portion here charged with thy work. It's a different situation now. Savitri knows what's the work. Unlike Arjuna and Sri Krishna and Sri Aurobindo who had asked what is my work and how to do it. Savitri says, I am thy portion of the divine, here charged with thy work. As thou myself seated forever above. You see the identity? As thou myself seated above, ever above, speak to my depths, O great and deathless voice. Command, for I am here to do thy will. Karishye vachanam tava. I will act according to thy word. Same command. Savitri says, command, for I am here to do thy will. It's a beautiful spiritual experience, for everyone. And the voice replied, remember why thou camest. That's why Arjuna says, I have recovered my memory. He remembers also why he has been brought, what is his role, what Sri Krishna is expecting of him. That's called the memory. So here, Savitri, the voice says, remember why thou camest. Find out thy soul, recover thy hid self. The same thing, Lord Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna, find out thy soul. This is the truth of the soul. In silence, seek God's meaning in thy depths. Then mortal nature change to the divine. Now here, Sri Aurobindo takes a leap, a different dimension altogether. And then it says, then mortal nature changed. There's a question of transformation that comes in, which is not there in the Gita. Open God's door, enter into his trance, cast thought from thee, that nimble ape of light. In his tremendous hush, stilling thy brain, his vast truth wake within and know and see. Cast from thee sense that veils thy spirit's sight. In the enormous emptiness of thy mind, thou shalt see the Eternal's body in the world. Know him in every voice heard by the soul, by thy soul. In the world's contacts meet his single touch. All things shall fold thee into his embrace. Conquer thy heart's throbs. Let thy heart beat in God. Thy nature shall be the engine of his works. Thy voice shall house the mightiness of his word. Then shalt thou harbor my force and conquer death. This is the culmination. This is the aim. This is the work done by Mother Sri Aurobindo. It is the conquest of death. So here we see Arjuna in millions of thousands of people dying. That's one scenario on the earth. But Sri Aurobindo takes Savitri on a cosmic plane. It's not one Kurukshetra or one little spot. On the cosmic plane, as I explained to you the other day about death, death is one of those highest spirits which was originally created long before the gods and humanity was created. There's death and falsehood and suffering and all that. So Sri Aurobindo is attacking the transformation of that primordial force called death. And Savitri was brought down for that. So this is the conversation where I brought in to show that even Savitri says to the divine, command, for I am here to do thy will. So ultimately this is the thing that we need to do. That we want to do thy will, O Lord. Open us, make us capable, make us transparent, give us the consciousness, so that I do thy will and not the ego of my will, my ego. And then last verses, chapter 18, verse number 70. And he who shall study this sacred discourse of ours, by him I shall be worshipped with a sacrifice of knowledge. And the same chapter, verse number 68, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, he who with the highest devotion for me shall declare this supreme secret among my devotees, without doubt he shall come to me. So he with the highest devotion for me shall declare this supreme secret among my devotees. So these are not just lectures and classes. These are to be shared by a devotee with the devotees. And not that I'm trying to take any lead on that, but it's only sharing what Sri Aurobindo and the Mother have told us about the Gita and about the Lord, about the inner secrets. So this is this sharing, he says, that we, the teacher and the students and the devotees, will come to him, he says. Without doubt, he shall come to me. And again I found a beautiful question in the Mother, in Sri Aurobindo. Somebody asked Sri Aurobindo, what sort of bhakti in my past lives has brought me to the Mother's feet? Sri Aurobindo replies, the aspiration for union with the Divine, and perhaps also for the descent of the Divine on the earth. So Sri Aurobindo says, we have come together in this life because the aspiration for union with the Divine, that your soul, your psychic being, had this aspiration for union with the Divine in your previous lives, and perhaps also for the descent of the Divine, that you also asked previously that may the Divine descend. And that's why when the Divine has descended in the form of Mother Sri Aurobindo, you people have come back to me. There's another question. People make all sorts of effort to have God's darshan. Some even weep and weep, yet they fail to obtain it. We in the ashram don't seem to have done very much, and yet we are here with you. What has brought this about? Answer. There are many things that have brought it about. Many things that you have come in contact with the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Not only physically, but as consciousness. There are many things that have brought it about. A connection in the past lives with the Mother and myself. Please listen to this. A connection in past lives with the Mother and myself. The development of your nature in former births, which made it possible for you to seek the divine. So it's a soul, these are all souls which are ready, which are developed and ready to seek the divine. Number 3, bhakti in those lives bearing its fruit now. Finally, the divine grace. So you see, these are the reasons that why all of us have assembled here. It's not just perchance I sent you a note and you said, okay, I will come. It's not your okay. It's not your mind saying, I will take the course. It is always, as it says, a connection in past lives with the Mother and myself, the development of your nature in former births, the bhakti of those lives bearing its fruit now, the divine grace. So we have all come together, not for listening to somebody's talks, but again to revive our memories of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. We have known them in our previous lives. We have had bhakti for them, and we are at least a soul which is trying to realize and seek the divine. So friends, it is not perchance, it is all design that all of us must meet. Now, in this occasion we have met here, another occasion we can meet another. But once you have come to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, you cannot leave them. Because it's not you, it's not X, Y, Z. It's the soul which has found them back. It is your souls and our souls which have found them again in this birth, in this form, in this name. So that is the beauty of coming to Sri Aurobindo, the Mother, or to Lord Krishna. Because as he himself says, as you have seen, that only with highest devotion for me shall declare this supreme secret. So we are all connected spiritually, be it to Sri Krishna, Sri Aurobindo or the Mother. It is an open secret. Well, we have come together, a long, beautiful journey, intertwining with Sri Aurobindo and the Mother and the Bhagavad Gita. As you have seen, my only support here to understand the Gita was Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Because otherwise, no one on this earth, can bring about this eternal spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. There have been many comments on the ethical level, moral level, psychological level. But if you read the essays on the Gita, you will see Gita kind of recreated. That is the impression we have. So do read if you come across this essays on the Gita, and you will see it's Gita reawakening our inner being. So the essence of the Gita is not just to read words by words or even memorize a few shlokas here and there, but let it internalize, that is to awaken. And that is a promise and a pledge, as it says. Well, before leaving, I have a little request that I would like to see the faces who have really been attending. So please come up on your videos. So at least I can see, because last 7 days have been only few faces have come around, and only few that were stuck in the first screen were there. But definitely it will be nice if you can come. And before we say a farewell, I would like to take a kind of a snapshot, as it is said, so I can keep memory of all of you. So please do not mind it, but this is where I said you have become my friends. So as friend travelers, we'll go together, and with Lord Krishna or Sri Aurobindo or anything. But of course, my weakness is Sri Aurobindo and the mother. So I'll come back for the life divine, I'll come back for Savitri, my people will come back on the synthesis of yoga. But SACAR is Sri Aurobindo's Center for Advanced Research. It's only Sri Aurobindo's research. We have nothing to offer on ourselves. We have only read a little bit. And of course, I've been fortunate to have been with the mother for 15, 17 years. So she must have given me some buddhi. Otherwise, I'm not the person to understand them. In fact, in one of the letters on Savitri, she even promised me that you can count upon me to understand Savitri. She wrote a letter to me saying, you count upon me to understand Savitri. So with that promise that I can rely on the mother for understanding Sri Aurobindo, I ventured into this. And that is purely her grace. I have nothing to claim, I have nothing to really take the credit for. It's my humble gratitude to Mother and Sri Aurobindo that she has even given me the chance to read these books. I mean, how much has it gone internally? Must have. Because from almost, I would say, last 50 years, I've been at it. So somewhere or the other, even patthar also gal jati hai when there's a drop of water that comes on. So some drops of His grace must have come, and my buddhi, my mind must have succumbed to it. However, so that's what I say, whatever I have gained, friends, I'll share with you. It's not my knowledge, but my knowledge of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Thank you again for coming together, and we'll see again. Some of you have said yes for the life divine, but let us see if more of you are eager, not wanting, but eagerly wanting to know Sri Aurobindo, because as it is said in poetry, drink deep or drink not the Pyrean spring. So once you have the thirst for Sri Aurobindo, you must drink more. That's why it is said, sorry to say, but when you are given a wine glass, first sip it. You don't drink the whole thing. But a sip after a sip after a sip becomes 1 peg, 3 pegs, 5 pegs. And then you get drunk. And that is how I'm drunk with Sri Aurobindo and his works and the Mother. So I would like to share with you my drunkenness with Sri Aurobindo's consciousness. Thanks to you again. Please come back, meet us, send me emails, whatever, WhatsApp. I'll always try to help you as much as I can. Thank you everyone. My pranams to the Mother and my namaste to all of you. Thank you so much.